Hello my ATS kibitzers, welcome to another edition of ATS Fully Engaged Battlefield Walkarounds. Today we're going to take a look at ATS Briefing Number 2, Arab-Israeli Wars, 1948 to 1956, Asterisk, and 1967. So we cover three conflicts, mainly the first two, the 1948 Israeli War of Independence, or First Arab-Israeli War, or as the Arabs call it, the disaster, depending on your perspective. This took place after the UN partitioned Palestine after World War II and into Jewish and Arab states, and the Arabs did not like that, and so that was the Israelis defending Israel, what became the state of Israel. In 1956, we have the Suez Crisis, when Israel invaded Egypt for various reasons, and England and France decided to piggyback in along with the invasion and to seize the nationalized Suez Canal. Egypt had nationalized it, and the British and the French didn't like that idea, so they decided that they would take advantage to go and get back their stuff, or take back control of the Suez Canal. And then the last one is the 1967 Six Days War, and there's just a little bit on that conflict in this module. As for components, so one thing you need Advanced Tobruk. You can't play this if you don't have some version of Advanced Tobruk. The first edition, the second edition, the newest version, there's a bring your own counters if you don't want, for some reason, to play, well, I mean, like me, don't necessarily want to play as much World War II, then you don't need the World War II stuff, then there's a bring your own counters edition. Apparently there used to be a version that just had the map and overlays, because the Bring Your Own Counters version, BIOC, however you say that acronym, that version does come with like AFV cards and whatever. So if you don't want anything World War II, you might have to hunt around for the one with just the map and overlays. But there are options. So there's no map. We're just looking at the briefing book. You only need one. Advanced book comes with two of those desert maps, but you only need one. You also receive, you don't get a map, but you do get 7 sheets of overlays, which come with 19 individual overlays. Here's a big hill. We'll just kind of show them out and see any of the really interesting ones. Here's a kibitz, as I like to call it, the Mos Eisley kibitz. That's some fun terrain to fight on. You get road junctures. I mean, that's nothing too terribly exciting. I'm not sure it would even affect a scenario very much. You do get a bridge. This is pretty cool, and a little ford. The bridge takes apart in the 1956 scenario with the French. It's the same thing. We've got this, lots of very long barbed wire and minefields. It's actually just minefields. And there's some repeats, and then you get a nice, very long river that's not even going to make it all the way on here, but it's lengthy. It keeps going. So those, you do have to trim those out if you didn't notice. There's that white border. I mean, this one I probably wouldn't even bother trimming out, but this border, you're going to want to trim that. The good news is, if you don't trim them perfectly, it's that the Advanced Book map's blank. It's just clear hexes and some scrub, so you're not going to have any line of sight issues with that. It's just kind of a pain. But they are nice cardstock. They're slightly thicker. They're not paper like some of the other ones I have received. But you're going to need some plexiglass to get those to lay flat. What else do we have in this fine package? So you get 3 counter sheets. A big, full-size counter sheet with Arab and Israeli infantry. So we'll hold this bad boy up. You get a lot of World War II stuff. Obviously, 1948, everyone's still using everyone's leftovers. These are the different squad types. Israelis are on the left and Arabs are on the right. But you also get lots of random stuff. More of the vehicles. We'll get to that. You get some, this one, I don't know, Parosh. We'll say it like it's Russian. Davidka. You get some homemade mortars, which have some funny rules where they are loud and they can cause morale checks just because of the noise, but they can break down very easily. They get flamethrower, that's nice. So pretty standard in terms of stuff. The irregulars, oh yeah, like these guys. They've got They've got nice hats, which is always important. Then you have a, I don't know, half sheet? It's a long half sheet, I think, of AFVs for the Israelis, as well as, well, I guess you have some planes. There are actually some cool planes in there, too. 20A cannon with a 4 rate of fire. Hot damn, that's a good weapon. So I was going to save the exciting stuff for later, but we'll get to some of it now since we're pimping the counters. So you get some of the upgun Shermans, like those M51s or Super Shermans, 105 millimeter cannon. Hot damn, again. Yeah, you got, where's the, well, we'll get to some of the other stuff later. Sandwich cars, which aside from having a funny name, are an APC that can ram stuff and hold dudes. You do get some modern vehicles, some more modern vehicles, like the M48. It's a Patton. Unfortunately, don't get scenarios to play them with. I think they're supposed to expand, like they did with ASL, expand later on for more Arab-Israeli stuff in the later wars, but then they did it for ASL, but it never happened, or for ASL Comp, but it never happened for ATS, unfortunately. Here are the French paratroopers for the one scenario, for the Suez business. You get lots of vehicles you've probably never heard of. An OT-62, that's a Soviet APC. That one I think does get used, I can't remember. An Archer 76-8 weapon. You got lots more vehicles that have either much better weapons, much faster. T-34, 85, well, I guess that's a World War II vehicle, but you can kind of see they're starting to get more potent. You've got control markers for Arabs and Israelis, which is cool. I like that. Get a little bit of chrome. And you have some turrets, quote turrets, because they're not actually turrets. That's a cannon. And then there's up here, somewhere, come on. Well, there's a recoilless rifle somewhere. Maybe it's on the front. Maybe that's a different. One of them's a recoilless rifle and one of them's a cannon, since, you know, those vehicles don't actually have turrets. Oh, there it is. That's the recoilless rifle. Yeah, pretty nifty. So what else do we have? We have, well, yeah, we went over the vehicles and all that good stuff. And we have 4 pages of AFV cards. So that's 18 AFVs total. And then one of them has a, yeah, there's 4 big cards, and then there's like a little guy down here. Or no, 17 AFVs, and then this is for like an APC, which don't get cards, but they do have to show you where it can shoot, because it's not immediately clear all the time that it can shoot every which way. You also have a couple of... Sorry, I muted myself on purpose accidentally. You have a couple of charts. You have the old gun penetration tables, which have been superseded, of course, by the newest 4X charts. There's the Arab gun penetration tables you got. But I actually like to keep the old ones around because there are some discrepancies. I think they went for ease of play and consistency in favor of more detail. And it's better because 99% of the time they're the same, but there are sometimes different ones. And especially for something like Arab Israelis, where you're going to have some vehicles that aren't covered really by the main rules. So I like to have those handy around to check. You've got RPG hit tables, you got limited gun to practice. Those are just rule reminders, some of them. But limited ammunition availability table, which is good because these counters, if you'll notice, don't have the ammo on them. So there's no like S for smoke or whatever, H for HE, I for illumination. So you have to actually use those. There's no 2 ways around it. And then the other page of charts is more just rule reminders, no quarter, whatever. But then there's also the anti-tank guided missile HPT and other tables, and there's the Israelis. Gun penetration chart values, Molotov hero table. We'll get to some of this stuff later. I'm just kind of showing what's on there. And that's important. I'm trying to fix our camera, maybe. Okay, so where are the scenarios? Where is the Battlefield Walkaround? I'm glad you asked that question. We have the briefing here, which has those and much, much more. just like the TV infomercial. Before we get to the briefing, just before I forget, because I forget on pretty much every single thing I do, Battlefield Walkaround, there is VAT support, so no fears. You can get your Arab Israeli on Vassal. And also one thing I almost always forget, but then usually remember at some point, which is happening right now in the case of this one, you do have all the combat counters you need to play. You're going to need a good amount of trucks, so if that's an issue, be ready to have trucks. A fair amount of mines, although nothing like desperate hours, like 48 mines, but there are some ones with a decent amount of mines. And then there's 1 or 2 scenarios with a bunch of hedgehogs, like 10 or 15. So things you might need if you don't have a massive collection of the generic counters. Okay, so let's get to the briefing. Let's start with the good stuff that you people who care about. We have 12 scenarios. There's The Last Musketeer, scenario number 11. That's the one with the French, by chance. I'm just going to flip through. For some reason, my camera setup is not very good today, but, whatever, I'll hold it. Trapping Nasser in Egypt. So there are, how many? 7 1948 scenarios? 4 of the 1956, and then 1 of the 1967. 1 second while I make some awkward adjustments and probably lose good audio. Well, it's not really working. That's okay. We'll go to the 1967 scenario in case you wish to see that. I mean, let's face it, whoa, wildness. North to Katef. That's what I'm here for, is the really modern stuff. You can see the Super Shermans there down in the corner. And you also have the ATGM equipped Jeep, which is lots of fun. So that's that. There's 12 scenarios with the breakdown I just mentioned. There's a 3-page Battlefield Walkaround, I do believe, at the very end. There's lots of special rules for Arabs and Israelis. No, that's not it. It's over here on this page. So Battlefield Walkaround, you can see at the top. We'll get into some of the special rules, but yeah, that's it. So 1, 2, 3 at the very end. Now the briefing itself has a mess of stuff in there, lots of interesting stuff. There's good designer's notes. The designer is clearly very, very dedicated to both his craft and to the topic. I can't remember if he's an actual historian or an amateur historian, but I think he's written books on it. So even if it's not professional, it's professional enough. There's a history of the 1984 war. There's an article on the AFVs. There's an article on the weapons and vehicles and the notes for all those, which is quite interesting for the for the wargaming geek. There's scenario analyses, which is great. I don't have to go write 3,000 word articles that you don't want to read. Instead, you just get it right in the briefing, which is fantastic. There's an article on static defenses at Abu Aguila, which is a battle in 2 of the wars. I mean, there's a book review. There's a thing about Israeli war music. I mean, it goes on. There's a lot in there. You will not want for material to read about this. As for the interesting stuff in the module, there's really too much to cover, but we already covered some of it. I mean, you get normal stuff, not normal stuff, but normal for this period. Where'd my counters go? Oh, I hid them. You get things like the M20 bazooka, which is pretty standard for this period, like with the French. Oh, where'd it go, though? Well, I'm sure it's on there somewhere. Well, I promise. Oh, there it is. M20 bazooka, which is much, much better than regular bazookas. You've got RPG-2s, which are little dinky guys compared to later editions, but they do get the job done. You have recoilless rifles, which again are standard fare for this period. The exciting thing is you do have anti-tank guided missiles, ATGMs, just on that Jeep. So there's 1 Jeep with those in the last scenario, in the 1967 scenario. But it's pretty cool. The rules for it are pretty cool. You have to guide it with the wire, so you actually have a chance to get opportunity fire against you if you fire it, even if you fire it as opportunity fire, which is kind of strange. But yeah, but it makes sense. You have to wait for the guided wire missile to get there, and it has a bunch of rules which look lots of fun. There's no quarters, so yeah, that makes sense. People don't like each other. There's strange rules for the AMX 13 for how it reloads. This guy down here. Yeah, which is a really nice vehicle, except if you have to reload it, it's unpleasant. You have to have like a crew outside of the vehicle to do it. You've got rules for Molotov heroes. The Israelis can go all Molotov on some Arab AFE's asses and throw Molotov cocktails at them. Generally, the rules are making Israelis better and the Arabs worse, although not always, especially in the 1948 war. The Israelis do have some issues with their AFEs and inexperienced crews, but that kind of goes away later, and then the Arabs, no good. They're always pretty bad. Just things like restricted ammo, inexperienced crews, that sort of thing. The Arabs have looting, although that's actually a general rule you can find in the rule book and a general optional rule. It really doesn't affect things that much. The chance of it happening is pretty low, and you can avoid it with leaders and that sort of thing. We already went over a lot of the interesting counters. Let me just check my notes to see if I missed anything that's absolutely critical. Sandwich cars, just my favorite. No, I think we mostly covered it all. There's lots of fun stuff. So the scenarios themselves, they're mostly medium plus to large minus. Like there's no huge scenario. There's 2 small scenarios, but they're kind of medium. I wouldn't say they're really big, but they're not. Most of them aren't small either. They tend to be on the long-ish side. So 7 turns is the minimum. Most are 8, 9, 10, up to 12, I think. But again, no really long, big scenario. You have a good mix of armor, infantry and combined arms, so you can get it down all sorts of ways. And let's see here. If I could read my own notes, it would be fantastic. You have 1 night scenario, 1 scenario that's half day and half night. You have 1 with pure airplanes for 1 side, so it's just there's a column of armor and whatever other vehicles. Oops, this is going to be tricky to find because it's somewhere in the middle, but we'll find it. We'll just talk and you can watch random things happen across your screen. There we go. And they're just trying to exit the map while 4 planes try to destroy them, which is a lot of fun. So people sometimes I seen complaints on like desperation morale about ASL scenarios like that. Yeah, of course, I don't want to play that every single time I play ATS, or even 10% of the time. But as a change of pace, that's pretty cool, and it shouldn't take too long. You get the aircraft rules down real well. I'll put a link to the aircraft attack video that Mitch did a while back. You learn those rules really well after you play the scenario, and once you get it going, it's going to move pretty fast. So, and I think there's 1 scenario of, I cannot even read what I wrote there, so whatever. I already said there's lots of combined arms, so. I have played a couple of these scenarios, actually, on Vassal, and they were boatloads of fun. I mean, this is a really good package. You can get this from Critical Hit, and I think with the discount, it's with the 70% off weekend discount, you get it for like $28 or something like that. And of course, you don't get any maps, but you get a ton of material in here. Again, Battlefield Walkarounds, not reviews, but if this is the kind of thing you'd be interested in, you get a lot of bang for your buck. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Come find us on the podcast, on the blog, on other videos, and happy ATS.